Before humans, it was a paradise. An island where fear did not exist. A bird lived here, that could not fly. It hadn't seen a predator in a million years. And so, it never learned to be afraid. We know it as the dodo. Yeah, that dodo. When we hear the name, one word comes to mind: stupid. A fat, clumsy bird that was so dumb, it basically walked into extinction. That's the story we all know, right? But is that true? Was the dodo really stupid? Or has its real story been hidden from us? Today on Extinct Files, we're uncovering the truth about the dodo. And it's not what you think. The dodo's story begins on a tiny, isolated island in the Indian Ocean called Mauritius. For millions of years, this island was a paradise, evolving its own unique forms of life, completely cut off from the rest of the world. Here, the dodo had no natural predators. No big cats, no snakes, no humans. With no one to hunt it, the dodo had no reason to escape. Over thousands of generations, its wings became small and useless. It didn't need to fly. It wasn't stupid or slow, it was perfectly adapted. It was the king of its own world. And because it had never been hunted, it had no concept of fear. When a new creature appeared, its first instinct wasn't to run, it was to be curious. In 1598, that curiosity would prove fatal. The first humans arrived. Dutch sailors, thousands of miles from home, stumbled upon this island. And they were hungry, completely cut off from the rest of the world. They saw a large, 1-meter-tall bird that didn't run away. A bird that would waddle right up to them. They couldn't believe their luck. They captured them easily. They're the ones who gave it the name dodo, which likely came from a Dutch or Portuguese word for fool or sluggard. In their journals, they mocked the bird for being so easy to catch. They called it stupid. And that's the image that stuck. For 400 years, the dodo has been the poster child for stupidity. But here's the part of the story most people get wrong. The sailors didn't like eating the dodo. They wrote that its meat was incredibly tough, oily, and tasted terrible. They called it disgusting foul. They would only eat it if they were literally starving and had no other choice. So, if humans weren't hunting and eating them all, how did the dodo vanish? What really killed the dodo? The truth is far more tragic. The real killers weren't the sailors, it was what they brought with them. What they left behind in the dark, hidden in the cargo holds of their ships. Rats. And not just rats. The sailors also introduced pigs, monkeys, and dogs to the island. A wave of new, invasive predators that this paradise had never seen. You see, the dodo built its nest on the ground. A simple nest, with one single, precious egg. For millions of years, this was a perfect strategy. But now, it was a disaster. The pigs, monkeys, and rats feasted on the dodo's eggs. A new generation of dodos simply couldn't be born. And it wasn't just the eggs. The dodo's entire world was being destroyed. The sailors and settlers began cutting down the ancient ebony forests to build settlements and export timber. The dodo's home, and its sources of food, the fruits and seeds of these trees, were disappearing. Trapped on an island that was no longer its own, hunted by creatures it never evolved to face, and with its food source gone, the dodo didn't stand a chance. It was a perfect storm of destruction. The first dodo was seen by humans in 1598. The last confirmed sighting of a dodo, by a Dutch mariner, was in 1662. Less than 70 years. That's all it took. It vanished so fast, so completely, that for a while, people in Europe began to believe it was just a myth. A sailor's tall tale. It wasn't until the 19th century, when skeletons were found, that the world fully accepted that this unique bird was gone forever. The dodo was not a stupid bird. It was a trusting bird. It lived in a paradise without fear, and we were the ones who brought it. The dodo is not a symbol of stupidity. It's a symbol of human carelessness. A permanent reminder that our actions, even unintentional ones, can have devastating and irreversible consequences. In our next episode, we'll explore the story of another lost species. Subscribe to Extinct Files.